In the first part of our story, we witness the tragic fate of Crown Prince Obu and how his twin sister, U, had to step into his role to protect the kingdom and honor her brother's memory. If you want to fully understand the depth of their struggles and the secrets they must keep, be sure to check out the first part. Now, let's continue the story, where U grapples with her new identity and the challenges that come with it. She watched him leave, her heart aching. How she wished she could tell him the truth, that she could be herself again. But she knew she couldn't. Not now, not ever. The risk was too great. Abel, who had been silent throughout the lesson, turned to you. "You did well, my prince," he said softly. You gave a small smile. "Thank you, Abel, but this is harder than I thought." Abel nodded. "I know, my prince, but you must stay strong for the queen, for the kingdom, and for yourself." You sighed, holding the pebbles tighter in her hand. She would endure this, no matter how difficult it was, for her mother, for her brother, and for Isuna. She would continue to play her role, even if it meant living a lie. 5 years had gone by, and you had successfully fooled everyone into believing she was the crown prince, Prince Obolo. She had grown into her role, becoming more confident, stronger, and able to carry herself as the heir apparent to the throne of a kingdom. Despite the challenges, she had managed to keep her true identity hidden. With the help of Queen Nia, Azuka, and Abel, she had survived. One day, Abel, who had always been scheming for power, made his next move. He plotted to poison King Ikenna, driven by his desire to overthrow the king and take control of the kingdom. However, the king had recently found evidence of Abba's evil deeds, how he had taken advantage of the people by collecting their hard-earned wealth through force and fear, and how he had plotted to overthrow him. King Ikenna had planned to punish Abba for his crimes, but it was already too late. Abba had secretly made plans with the head cook to poison the king. The poison worked quickly, and by the morning, King Ikenna had passed away in his chambers. News of the king's sudden death spread through the kingdom, bringing sorrow to the people of Ai. Queen Nea wept bitterly at the loss of her beloved husband, her heart heavy with grief. The kingdom mourned the death of their king. You was aware of the evil plot that had taken his life. After the king's burial, preparations were made for Prince Obolo to ascend the throne. It was time for the crown prince to become king. The entire kingdom was preparing for the coronation, unaware of the truth behind the crown prince's identity. Though devastated by her husband's death, Queen Nea knew she had to stay strong for you. She had lost her husband, but she couldn't afford to lose her daughter too. She had to protect her no matter what. Abba, on the other hand, was ecstatic. His plan was working perfectly. With King Ikenna gone, the next step was to ensure that Prince Obolo ascended the throne. He believed that once you, disguised as the prince, became king, he could manipulate her and use her to achieve his ambitions. He saw the young prince as nothing more than a puppet, someone he could control to gain power. The day of the coronation arrived. The palace was decorated, and people from all over the kingdom gathered to witness the event. Abba stood proudly, watching as you, dressed in royal attire, walked toward the throne. He smirked to himself, feeling victorious. He had finally succeeded in getting rid of King Ikenna, and now he would have the power he had craved for so long. As you approached the throne, she could hear the murmurs of the crowd. "Look how strong he has become," one villager said. "He carries himself like a true prince," another added. You forced a smile, but inside her heart raced with anxiety. As Abba stepped forward, he declared, "People of the kingdom, today we witness the beginning of a new era. A strong and noble king will now lead us, my beloved grandson, King Obolo. One day there was a special ceremony where a new king was crowned. As the king raised his hand in the air, everyone in the crowd cheered, shouting, "Long live the king!" A girl named U took a deep breath and raised her hand too. She wanted to seem strong, but inside, she was feeling scared and worried. Later, her grandfather Abba came close to her and whispered, "Remember, my king, I am always here to help you. You must trust me." U turned her head a little and said, "I appreciate your help, grandfather, but I want to honor my father. I will lead with strength and wisdom." Abba smiled, but he also looked a bit tricky. "Strength is very important," he said. "You need to learn to use your power wisely." U clenched her teeth, knowing that Abba could be dangerous. "I will be careful," she promised. "My job is to protect our people, not to use power for myself." Abba chuckled, hiding his true feelings, and reminded her that there were enemies everywhere. As the ceremony continued, U felt worried. What if Abba's plans caused more trouble? She looked at her mother, Queen Nia, who seemed proud but sad. U leaned closer and whispered, "I promise to protect our kingdom, but I can't do it alone." Queen Nia wiped her tears and said, "You are stronger than you know. Together, we will find a way to get through this." U took a deep breath, feeling determined. "We must be careful. I can't let Abba control me," she said. Her mother nodded. "You are not just a king. You are also my daughter. You carry our family's hopes on your shoulders." U knew her battle was just starting. She had to protect her mother, her people, and herself. She was no longer just U, she was King Wobia Jolo, and she was ready for challenges. U was doing her best to rule with kindness and fairness, but Abba kept trying to take control. He wanted her to sit on the throne and let him make all the decisions. U decided to act like she didn't understand, so she could gather proof of his wrongdoings and eventually bring him to justice. One day, Abba visited U and said, "My dear king, I think it's time for you to find a queen. You need someone to help you because now that you are 20, it's important to have an heir." U felt a chill. "Why are you in such a hurry, grandfather?" she asked. Abba replied, "It's necessary, my king. You need an heir to keep our legacy strong. Tomorrow, all the young ladies from the kingdom will come to the palace for you to choose a queen." U was shocked. She thought to herself, "So you can kill me like you did to my brother and father?" She tried to hide her anger and asked, "What are you really planning, grandfather?" "There's nothing to worry about," Abba said, smiling. "Just be ready to choose your queen tomorrow." After he left, U called for her mother. When Queen Nea arrived, she looked worried. "What is it, my dear?" she asked. U told her, "Grandfather wants me to choose a queen tomorrow. He says it's time for me to have an heir." Queen Nea's eyes grew wide. "He's moving too fast," she said. "We must be careful. Your grandfather won't stop until he gets what he wants." U clenched her fists and replied, "I won't let him control me. We have to protect ourselves and expose his wrongs. I can't marry anyone while he still has so much power." Queen Nea agreed. "You're right, my king. We must be prepared for the worst, but we must also tread carefully, or we might endanger ourselves." U looked at her mother, trembling. "But how can I choose someone as my bride? What if we can't hide the truth?" Queen Nia nodded sadly. "We have no choice. You must follow what he says and choose a queen, but we can make a plan to buy ourselves some time." U agreed, her heart heavy. "Yes, I will choose, but we have to find a way to stop the wedding." That night, U, Queen Nia, Abka, and Abel The four who knew the truth discussed their worries. The next day, the palace was filled with excitement and pretty decorations for the special event. King Obo wore his royal clothes and looked very handsome. The young ladies whispered to each other about how good he looked. One girl said, "I wish I could touch his skin." The king's scholar, Isuna, stood beside him. Isuna felt strange because the king reminded him of someone special. Recently, Isuna had gone to U's village to find her parents, but learned they had passed away after hearing the news that U was gone. It made Isuna sad to think they were no longer around. Queen Nea knew about what happened to U's parents, but she didn't want to tell U, fearing it would make her sad. She always told U that her parents were fine, urging her to focus on being a king. As King Obo sat on the throne looking at all the young ladies, Abba came to him and said, "It's time for you to pick your bride." The king felt calm but replied, "Must I choose now, grandfather? I want to meet all the ladies and take my time." Abba smiled but didn't look happy. "Of course, my king, but I know a girl who would be perfect for you. Her name is Norma, the daughter of my best friend. She's kind and would be a great queen." U understood Abba's plan. He wanted someone he could control. Taking a deep breath, she said, "Thank you, grandfather, but I will choose for myself." Abba frowned for a moment but then nodded. "As you wish, my king." U met with each young lady, trying to find the right one. As time passed, she noticed a girl standing quietly by herself. The girl wasn't wearing fancy jewelry and didn't try to attract attention. There was something gentle about her. The king walked over and asked, "What is your name?" The girl looked up and said, "My name is Eid, and I am Mazi's daughter." The king smiled. There was something special about Eid. She turned to the crowd and spoke clearly, "I have made my choice. I choose Eid, the daughter of Mazi, to be the queen of our kingdom." Everyone was surprised, even Abba, who looked shocked before forcing a smile. "Are you sure, my king?" he asked. "Yes, grandfather," U said firmly. "She is the one I choose." Eid bowed deeply, surprised and grateful. "Thank you, my king. I am honored." The crowd cheered, and U looked at her mother, Queen Nia, who nodded with pride. U knew this was just the beginning, and she would need to be strong to face Abba. After the wedding, everything seemed to go well. King Obo was busy ruling, and his scholar Isuna and trusted servants were always by his side. Deep down, U still loved Isuna, but it hurt to see how he looked at her, not knowing who she truly was. One day, the king, Isuna, and the servant went to the palace storeroom to check supplies. Suddenly, a heavy object started to fall toward the king. Isuna rushed in to save him, grabbing the king and holding him close. He didn't realize that he pressed against U, who was hiding her true self under royal robes. After the fall, the servant shouted at Isuna, "How dare you touch the king?" Isuna apologized, explaining he was just trying to help. The king reassured him, "It's okay. He saved me." But as Isuna left the storeroom, he felt uneasy. Did the king really have breasts? Or was he just imagining things? Later that day, the king sent Isuna home, saying their work was done. But Isuna couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. The next day, he returned to work beside the king and kept watching him. Every time he looked at the king, he felt something familiar, something that reminded him of U. One day, while they were alone, Isuna saw a small mark on the king's neck. He recognized it. It was the same mark he saw on U's neck. His heart raced, and he made sure no one was around before moving closer to the king. "U," he whispered. The king dropped the scroll he was holding, eyes wide with shock. U quickly covered Isuna's mouth, saying, "Never call me that name again." Looking into U's eyes, Isuna knew he was right. U sighed and told him everything. How she had disguised herself as Prince Obo, how her grandfather had ordered the prince's murder, and how she wanted to find a way to make things right in the kingdom. Isuna felt tears forming as he listened. "So, my own father had the prince killed?" he said softly. "Yes," U nodded. "But you must keep this secret. I need time to punish those who did wrong. If anyone finds out, everything will be ruined." Isuna looked at her with determination. "I promise, U, I will keep your secret. I will help you however I can." U smiled, feeling relieved to have an ally. King Obo and Queen Eid's marriage was going well. They respected each other, but they slept in separate beds. Eid was a kind woman, always there to support her husband, but she felt the tension between them. One day, Abba visited the king and said, "King Obo, I'm worried. I think Queen Eid is unfit. It's our custom for a king to marry a woman who can bear children. People are starting to ask why there are no signs of a pregnancy." U's heart raced as she realized the challenges ahead. AB spoke urgently, saying, "They are asking questions about you. They think something is wrong. You need to show everyone you can have a baby. If not, they might think you aren't a real man, especially after seeing how you and Isuna looked at each other suspiciously." After AB left, the king's grandmother entered the room. It had been a long time since she visited, especially after the death of her son. King Ulu rushed to her and said, "Grandmother, what brings you here? I told you to stay in your room and take care of yourself." She smiled gently, her eyes shining with warmth. "I just wanted to see you, my blessed grandson. It makes me happy." The king smiled back, thankful for her visit. She reached into her robe and pulled out a small pouch filled with herbs. "Here, take this. It will help you have a baby," she said, handing it to him. The king looked at the herbs curiously. "Did my father use this?" "Yes, and so did your grandfather. They both had strong sons because of these herbs," Elle explained proudly. He chuckled lightly. "Grandma, you are very funny. Do you really believe this will work for me too?" "Of course, my dear. Drink it up. Trust me, it has worked for generations in our family," she encouraged. King Ulu accepted the pouch, feeling a mix of hope and anxiety. "Okay, I'll drink it," he said, lifting the pouch to his lips. As he swallowed the herbs, he thought about the pressure to have a baby. Would he meet everyone's expectations? Would AB ever stop nagging him? After he finished, he felt a little lighter, like a burden had been lifted. "Thank you, Lola. Your support means everything to me," he said. "Just remember, my king, to listen to your heart. You are a good man, and you will find your way," she said seriously. With her encouragement in mind, the king promised to do his best, but deep down, he knew the challenges ahead would not be easy. He had to handle the kingdom's expectations while keeping his true identity a secret. One night, as the king lay in bed, he felt heavy with thoughts about the next day. It would be important for him. He planned to expose his grandfather, AB, and reveal all the bad things he had done, like stealing from the poor and hurting people, including the former king and his brother, Obo. He was filled with hopes of bringing happiness back to his people. Suddenly, he felt a gentle hand touch him, hugging him tightly. He was startled and turned to see the queen. "It's me, my king," she said softly. "Why are you so shocked? It's just you and me in this room. Please, my king, come and be with me as my husband." The king gently pushed the queen away, but she held on tightly, tears streaming down her face. What have I done wrong? Am I not beautiful enough? Since we got married, you have never touched me as a husband should. What did I do to deserve this? I have tried to be a good queen, but it hurts so much. We need to have a baby for the throne. The king sat up and held her hands. You have done nothing wrong. You are the most understanding person I have ever met. It's not my intention to hurt you, but some things are beyond your understanding. Tell me, my king. I will understand, she replied earnestly. He sighed, preparing to share his secret. I need to tell you the whole truth about my identity. You must promise to never tell anyone, or there will be trouble. The queen's eyes widened in shock. What is it, my king? He took a deep breath and revealed everything. As he spoke, her shock grew. She almost fell to the floor. The king is a woman. This is too much for me. But she steadied herself and promised, I swear I will keep your secret as long as I live. The king thanked her and she asked, Is there any way I can help? Just being with me as my queen is enough, he replied. Please try to get some sleep. Tomorrow will be a very big day for me. I plan to expose AB to the people and bring him to justice. The next morning, the king gathered all his advisors. The atmosphere was tense as he took a deep breath and spoke. My cabinet, I have something important to share, he announced. Abi looked surprised. My king, what is going on? Is our kingdom in trouble? The king didn't answer directly. Instead, he stood up from the throne and said, Arrest my grandfather! Gasps filled the room as the guards stepped forward. The king turned to his advisors and began to tell all the bad things AB had done. Stealing from the poor, murdering the crown prince Obo, and poisoning the late king. He shared all the proof, and with each word, AB felt like he was being hit hard by the truth. Realizing all his efforts to keep his secrets hidden had failed, AB collapsed to the floor, lifeless. The king ordered the guards to take his body away, and they arrested DK, AB's loyal guard, who was part of the crimes. With AB gone, the king took off his crown and knelt before the advisors, feeling heavy in his heart. I ask for your forgiveness for lying to you and for ruling as a woman and a twin. Both of these things are forbidden in our land. It is a taboo for a woman to be king and also taboo to have twins. I will accept any punishment you give me, whether it is exile or death. I am ready to face it. The advisors exchanged looks of shock. They could hardly believe what they had just heard. The king had revealed not only the dark things AB had done, but also the burden he had kept secret. They were all in disbelief as the tension in the room grew. Queen Nia, the king's mother, Queen Eddie, his wife, and Elle, his grandmother, entered the room gracefully. They all knelt before the advisors, their hearts heavy with worry. Elle spoke first, her voice shaking. If you are going to punish the king, then I should be punished too. I may not have known his true identity, but I knew my son had twins. I should have asked more questions. Queen Nia bowed her head, tears streaming down her face. It's all my fault, she cried. I was only trying to protect my children like any mother would. Please, I am the one who should be punished, not my child. Queen Eddie, still kneeling, added, If you are going to punish the king, then you should punish me too. I am his wife, and I stand by him in everything. The advisors were taken aback, their eyes wide with surprise. They did not expect such support from the women of the royal family. The atmosphere in the room changed as the advisors exchanged uncertain glances, unsure of what to do next. Finally, Ichu, one of the most respected advisors, spoke up. My people, it's true that we have all been tricked into believing that a woman is ruling our kingdom, a twin at that. This is terrible, but we must also look at how she has led our kingdom. She has shown wisdom and grace more than any king I have ever heard of. Despite being a woman, she carried the weight of this kingdom on her shoulders from a young age, making it beautiful again while AB failed to protect it. He continued, "She has done an amazing job stopping her grandfather from doing bad things. I say we should forgive her and extend that forgiveness to the women kneeling before us." A murmur of agreement went through the advisors. The seriousness of their situation started to sink in. They realized they had the power to change the future of their kingdom. After talking it over, they agreed to keep the truth a secret, telling the people instead that the king had died. They decided to send her to another kingdom where her identity would stay a secret. Queen Nia, Queen Edi, and El looked up, relief washing over their faces as they thanked the advisors for their mercy. Princess Ulu saw the moment to ask for something else. "Please get rid of the rule against twins. We have seen that twins are a blessing, not a curse." The advisors thought about her words carefully. After some discussion, they decided to pass a new rule saying that twins would no longer be seen as bad in their kingdom. "From now on," Ichu declared, "twins are a blessing, and we recognize that women can lead with strength and wisdom." Princess Ulu, Queen El, and Queen Edi were very thankful, knowing that their kingdom was starting a new chapter, one that would celebrate life, family, and the true potential of its people. After all the events that shook the kingdom, the advisors knew it was time for a new beginning. They agreed to choose another family to lead them. "We must find a worthy family, one with honesty, to continue the legacy of Ulu's family," they said. Meanwhile, Isuna had been thinking about everything that happened. He realized he couldn't imagine his life without Princess Ulu. He still loved her and wanted to be with her. He understood that his father's arrest was hard, but he also knew that justice had been served, and his father deserved what happened to him. Isuna found Ulu and took her hand. "Ulu," he said sincerely, "I want to be with you. I still love you, despite everything." With a soft smile, Ulu replied, "I love you too. Thank you for understanding everything and for being by my side. I hope one day we can be together again." With their bond stronger than ever, the king and queen turned their eyes to the bright future ahead. Together, they dreamed of a kingdom filled with hope, love, and endless possibilities, a place where all people could thrive, including twins. Thanks for watching. If you liked the story, tell us what you learned by leaving a comment. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our next episode. Have a wonderful day.